All right, welcome to 3-Minute Cold Plunge Theology. This is a new series for YouTube. I've been super into cold plunging recently, and so I thought, while I'm miserable for 3 minutes inside of here, why not think and talk about different theological topics? So this is the very first episode of 3-Minute Theology. No, of 3-Minute Cold Plunge Theology. All right, welcome to 3-Minute Cold Plunge Theology. For this first episode, oh my gosh, this is so cold. For this okay, it's like 41 degrees. Okay, for this first episode, we're talking about what is theology. I think theology, theology comes from two Greek words, theos and logia. Theos and logia. Theos is the Greek word for God, and logia is the word for study. And so really, theology is simply the study of God. But I actually think that the 17th century astronomer Johannes Kepler has probably one of the most brilliant descriptions of theology, or an example. Johannes was an astronomer, and so he spent his time looking out into the stars. And if you think about astronomy, the beautiful thing about an astronomer is like the astronomer isn't trying to create the stars. Like, he's not going out and trying to develop new stars or create new stars. He's just looking out into the heavens and into the constellations and is doing his very best to try to identify the stars that already exist. And in doing that, trying to make sense of where they are, why they're there, how they're related to other stars. And so Kepler said this. He said that theology is simply thinking God's thoughts after him. I think this is brilliant. When you and I do theology, we're not trying to come up with new thoughts of God. We're not trying to come up with novel ideas. There's actually a word, a phrase for that. It's called heresy. So this is not what we're trying to do. But what we are trying to do is to identify and recognize that God, in his brilliance and in his kindness and in his divine wisdom, has already thought all of his thoughts out before us in Holy Scripture. And so we have all of his beautiful words in Scripture for us to be thinking deeply about. My friend Levi Lusko, which, by the way, Levi is the reason I'm doing this crazy thing called a cold plunge. My son Levi, who is 10, we were in Montana, and while we were there, we did a cold plunge in the Montana winter. I think it was January or something like that, and it was so stinking cold. About what it is here, but Levi got me into the cold plunge, so I'm going to talk about him right now. Levi is, he loves NASA, he loves astronomy, he loves all those things. But one of the things that I find is super intriguing about space and astronomy is with astronauts. Think about this. Astronauts are also astronomers. They have to know the space. They have to know constellation. But then they do something really unique and something very special. They actually go into space. And so what we're doing with theology is thinking God's thoughts. We also want to live those thoughts out in an embodied theology.